Gentlemen, victory Sunday. Actually, I'd say the first 2 hours or the first hour after a victory. Let's go ahead and just say it, right? Broncos go up 7 points. I had probably half of Bills Mafia been like, oh my God, we've seen this story before. It's over. How many times has that happened all year? Like when a team marches down the field, first drive of the game ends in 7. We held them fools to that only. That was the only redeeming factor. 31 unanswered points, ladies and gentlemen. 31 unanswered points. Defense was out there. Matt Milano is back, ladies and gents. We have a lot to discuss today about what we witnessed today and then also what that means moving forward. Obviously, we have the Baltimore Ravens. Everyone's already hyping this game up quite a bit. But let me tell you what, we ultimately ended up walking away from this game relatively unscathed outside of the Ray Davis injury. Had a Taron Johnson scare as well, and Alec Anderson, I believe. Josh Allen ultimately ended up losing his thumbnail on his throwing hand as well. But is what it is. Unscathed, fully healthy. Have a lot to unpack here today. And of course, we have my good friend Thomas backstage. What's going on, man? How you doing?
What's up, buddy? Holy shit, what an ass kicking. Let me fix my camera. There we are. Now we're good. We're okay.
Yeah. What's up?
Yeah, what an ass kicking. Just like you said, from the onset, little jitters with that beautiful pass from Bo Nix. Got to give it to him. Looked great out of the chute. But after that, Bobby Babich, if he didn't put his name on the radar as a coaching candidate, holy hell.
No, seriously, man. I mean, honestly, I would like to keep at least one of the coordinators this offseason. Joe Brady was obviously in his bag as well, but that's the story to me, right? Because for some reason, everybody that was even looking at this matchup, some of the Bills fans that are a bit more pessimistic than others, they were coming out being like, oh, Dan, it's this defense that worries me. And all week, and I'm pretty sure you and I were on the same page, we're like, look, like this team can't run the football, right? Like they haven't had a 100-yard rusher in like 34 games now. And while Bo Nix had a couple of good throws, I will say, and Cortland Sutton certainly did not do him any favors with those 2 key drops that came into him. Like Bobby Babich and Sean McDermott's defense was firing on all cylinders. And I am so proud of that squad. I'm hoping, I'm praying, my fingers are crossed that we can take that and move it into the divisional round next week. Have they announced the time and day, or are they waiting for the wild card matchups yet? So do you know?
Haven't mentioned that. Sean McDermott actually said something in the locker room speech. He had said that they didn't know the time or date yet, and he even mentioned that they could be playing on a short week. So we'll probably know later tonight exactly when that's going to happen. But obviously that's a big point right there. But I'll tell you, one thing that was said by the whole CBS staff was the Bills seemed, after that matchup against the Ravens in Week 4, they wanted to change what the perception about them was. Like they weren't satisfied, and I think Sean McDermott, to a degree, wanted to really balance out this offense. Like Josh Allen's going to make the throws. We saw it. That Ty Johnson throw to the back of the end zone was just bonkers. Like he was doing things that you expect out of Josh. Now you're seeing this team with a fully balanced offense utilizing a running back in James Cook, Ty Johnson, and Ray Davis that I think rivals any roster in the NFL.
Yeah. No.
Ridiculous.
It's funny, and I'm surprised that it took me this long to realize, right? Like everyone talks about Baltimore and Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, and maybe I'm just getting ahead of myself, but so far it's been a very consistent year from James Cook. I'm arguing right now that I think James Cook is going to become that guy. And he may be that guy already. Like next year, obviously, last year, the rookie deal, I'm actually going to be pounding the table to extend him this offseason because I think that he really has the ability of becoming a back that can truly be a Derrick Henry-esque sort of weapon for us. He's been so integral to this offense all year, and I love to see it.
He, at this point right now, if everything continues, is the second best back to wear a Bills uniform behind Thurman Thomas. He is that damn talented. And we've had Shady McCoy. And I think at this point right now, I think I would take James Cook this present moment over of LaShawn McCoy when we had him. Yeah. That's how good James is.
No, like it's It's solid, and I'm really hoping that we can implement that against Baltimore moving forward. But I do want to pause that because I'm sure that we're going to be having quite a few conversations about the Baltimore Ravens later on this week. Guys, listen, this is going to be a short stream today, just a half hour. As soon as when this is over, I'm hopping over to Thomas's channel. Okay. And then we are going to unpack a little bit more about this game. Link is in the bio. Well, no, excuse me, pinned at the top of the chat. So go on ahead and turn on those damn bell notifications. Literally the second we're done over here, we're hopping over to Thomas's channel. I really hope that everybody rocking with us can join us and subscribe, because him and Sterling just launched their podcast this previous week. And we're trying to show some love over to the boys, man. That's what I'm talking about. Have a lot of people in here going absolutely nuts. I'm still happy that my Broncos had a good season. Solid season for you guys. Sincerely, man. Bo Nix certainly has a lot to be proud of in 2024. And I think that it's only up from there. Just surround that dude with some talent at the end of the day. But all right, dude. I think all of us were talking about that defensive performance. Solid, right? I think Milano finally shut up a lot of people too, who are all but concerned about his performance since he's coming back from the injury in and of itself. We got away from a couple of injuries, but like, what else is something that is top of mind for you to celebrate, like at this point? Because I am just an information overload right now. I feel like my centuries are absolutely fried. It's still taking me a little bit of time to like sit back. Actually, I lied. Time of possession was fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. Well, yo, what was it, like 47 minutes? Like 47, like 47
it was pure
pure
dominance.
It was wild, dude. It like just a great coach game. This is the wild card round, but I still think it's time for us to go on ahead and celebrate that. What was the biggest standouts for you, just out of curiosity?
Well, I will say this, for hats off to the Broncos. I mean, I said on our show this past Thursday, they were definitely ahead of schedule, and that's okay. It was like the 2018, 2019 Buffalo Bills with rookie Josh Allen, where they weren't there yet. They were getting there, but you saw glimpses of greatness. That's what the Broncos are going to be an absolute wagon in the very near future.
Yeah.
I don't want to keep going easy, but man, I'm impressed with Josh. Like
Me too,
in those games in the past, you'd see him get a little wily, make some throws you shouldn't, just do things that were kind of like, I don't know, like not out of character, because it was character, but like just too much. And man, it just looked so easy. Like he had to work a little bit for it, but like for the most part, I feel like that was the easiest 31 points the guy has ever scored. It just, and against a damn good Broncos defense. Broncos was 7th overall in total defense this season. Like they're a very, very good defensive line. The running game was absolutely hitting. His throws were on point. I mean, he was hitting those big time throws, but also he was utilizing the underneath stuff. Like it was a really, really competent, smart football game from Josh Allen. And that's what you want, right? Like, and one thing I did say, the other part to this I think is important, and I mentioned this again on my show on Thursday, is James Cook. I said, and I implicitly believe this, if James Cook continues what he's doing, I think the Bills can win the Super Bowl. Because when you have we haven't had a rushing attack like this in Josh Allen's time. We just haven't.
Since the Obama administration, bro.
Seriously, if you take pressure off of Josh Allen and you put it onto James Cook the way he's running, and he's running at over a 5-yard clip, the sky's the limit. Because for the longest time, everything was on Josh Allen to be perfect. But when you have James Cook allowing Josh to not feel like the world is on his shoulders, the game becomes a lot slower. Everything just mellows down to him, and he realizes that he's always ahead of the sticks. So those two things in tandem, I think Josh Allen and James Cook together, if this continues, man, like you say that the Ravens are going to be a wagon. I'm telling you, Josh Allen's going to be a tough out.
Yeah, no, listen, man, I 110% agree with you. What makes it even funnier, and like one standout for me, Curtis Samuel, dude. Curtis Samuel goes out there, and not only he had 3 targets, he was leading receiver today, and he was public enemy number 1. And to be completely honest with you, at one point, I forgot that he was on this roster for the past couple of weeks. I really did. When I was sitting there trying to tell people about all of our weapons, Shakir, Coleman, Cooper, James Cook, it's going off. We completely just forgot that Curtis was on this team because we all agreed that that was a waste of a contract. But talk about a dude stepping up. Like, we finally saw what we were all told in the offseason, that he was great separation. He was super fast. He was going to be able to make some plays for us. And I think it just goes to show you that this team literally could have a different number one in receiving category at any given week. Hence why I think it's going to be very difficult for any team to plan against us in the playoffs. Even looking back in the regular season for the past few weeks ago, when Ty Johnson was our leading wide receiver, I know that Ravens fans are getting super cocky in the chat and stuff like that. They're like, oh, yeah, like y'all aren't going to beat Baltimore. But I guarantee you that they are sweating their ass off, like looking at this overall game. What we did against the number one run defense, so number one, number two, number three, top five for sure, run defense or just defense by itself, I know for a fact that Ravens fans are sweating just based off of what they saw today.
Yeah, and I think the big part to all of this is Keon Coleman and Amari Cooper together had 3 catches for 13 yards. Yeah. That's impressive. When your two top targets, your 2 outside receivers, are basically a non-factor. And then you got Khalil Shakir, who went 6 for 61. Mr. Consistency, who just delivers 10 yards a clip. When you need him, he's there. He's got hands. He doesn't drop the ball. It's a pinball with contact balance, man. It is. Just like you said, Dan, this team is delivering, and that's what you want, right? Like the everybody eats mantra, that whole ideology is you want to know that when somebody's covered, Josh Allen still has an asset. And that I mentioned earlier, I tweeted out, I said, Ty Johnson is the unsung hero. What Ty Johnson has done for this Bills team, being in the right spot at the right time, that catch in the back of the end zone, how many times has he done stuff like that this season? That's what you want. God. Like, you don't have to be perfect, and it doesn't matter. That was what made Tom Brady so goddamn good for all those years. Yeah, he had Gronkowski, and he had a really good tight end, but he just had like a hodgepodge of different guys. And every week, somebody different would be good, whether it was James White or whether it was, whatever name you want to throw out there. They always figured out a way. That's what you want Josh to be able to do, is know that he has somebody available.
Still, man, like all year, his identity has been growing in protecting the football at the absolute highest pedestal. Like, you didn't really see him go off until the second half. Like, it was largely ground and pound and physical. He wasn't taking many shots downfield, and some Bills fans were getting frustrated with it, but he was just waiting for those opportunities to go on ahead and present themselves. And that's the Josh Allen that I think that is in the past. And like, certainly. How long do we need to watch Josh play like this since the very beginning of week 1 against Arizona, where we can now say, all right, like that old Josh Allen is completely in the past. Like, do not need to worry about it whatsoever. The growth of this guy has been absolutely nuts. Now, I do need to give a giant shout out to today's sponsor. It just so happens to be BetUS, folks. BetUS, number one sports book on the face of the planet. They are currently matching 150% of your first 3 deposits all the way up to $2,000 as long as you use code YouTube150. And we already have the lines, Thomas, for the Buffalo Bills and the Baltimore Ravens on, well, it looks like 6:30 Sunday. It's the late game. I'm not sure if that was officially announced or if they're just assuming that that's what it's going to be. But Buffalo Bills are -1 favorites, basically meaning that Vegas thinks that this is going to be lock, dead, step in. And the over-under is sitting at 51.5. I'm not sure about you, Thomas, but I think this over is going to be the easiest bet in the face of the planet. Obviously, we're going to need some time to unpack this game and understand some certain things about the rosters, but I think this over might be the easiest bet that anybody could make at this point.
Yeah, I think this game's going to be a good one. You would expect this be. You would expect it wouldn't be like the last matchup where the Bills were just, fighting with one hand behind their back. It's going to be probably, I don't know what the weather report looks like. It's supposed to get pretty cold. This could just be a James Cook versus, Derrick Henry showdown of who's the last man standing. And I'll be honest with you, I'm ready for it, because if there was ever a game between Josh Allen and James Cook, it's like, the old fashioned WWF tag team match.
Yeah.
I don't know who I'd take because, man, that'd be a fun ass matchup between those four. It's going to be a lot of
Oh, yeah.
running, and it's whose offensive line and defensive line can hold up the longest.
So stat line is going to be like Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson throw for a combined 300 yards, but then so they both rush for a combined like 275, and the running backs at 100 on top of that as well. That game's going to go by fast, especially since I think running the football is probably going to be the identity for both of those teams, which is absolutely nuts. Guys, listen, I know that everybody has been wondering, Dan, who won the signed Jim Kelly blue helmet? Well, let me tell you what. The winner, Corey Herbert. Corey Herbert, if that is your name, congratulations. You have won this helmet. Surprise, I already sent you a DM as we are on this stream. Once we ended up randomly selecting a winner, please go on ahead and please respond to me, and then I will get your address, and I will send that over to you early this week. I'll head over to FedEx, and I'll get this beautiful piece of art for you, baby. Let's go ahead and knock that out. Next week, signed Taron Johnson jersey, ladies and gentlemen.
Ooh.
Signed Taron Johnson jersey could be yours. What you need to do is you need to be a subscriber to this YouTube channel, and you also need to be a subscriber to Thomas's YouTube channel, which is linked at the top of this chat. Get on top of that. Show me proof. Make it happen, baby. Make it happen. Get in on the action. Thank God Taron Johnson's good. I'll tell you that. I was scared about that, like one hit at first. But, I mean, dude, listen, like, I feel like I'm at sensory overload right now because I'm so proud of the team. But, like, what else is standing out to you? Like, what did they show to you today that raises your confidence going up against Baltimore, like on Sunday? Ideally, at least what we're thinking.
I think they've just done what they've done the entire season. And, I keep prefacing or kind of mentioning what I tweeted out, but the Bills were the number one team in the NFL in second half point differential.
I know.
They led the NFL with 125 plus points in the second half for a total of 256 total points in the second half. It's not always going to be pretty. And somebody tweeted like, Josh Allen's only a second half quarterback. While they literally were the number 2 scoring offense in the entire league. Like, listen, their defense allowed 7 points in the second half or the first half. Like, whatever. It's not going to be pretty. It's the NFL. Postseason football is not pretty football. And generally speaking, it's pretty difficult too. And the NFL generally is not easy football as it is. The fact that they're continuing on and doing what they did, another 30-point performance, which they did in 12 out of 17 games this season, is such a huge coup to what they're doing. It means that they can continue on. And even more so, the fact that they did it against one of the best secondaries in the game, a very, very good Broncos secondary.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it that they're continue on. Loving it that they're going to continue mounting. And they're just they didn't show a lot. Like, if we're being honest, I even told my buddy when my childhood best friends was over at the house, I felt like that game was really vanilla. Like, I didn't think that they went above and beyond throwing anything like, dramatic or anything that was kind of obscure at the Broncos. It was very simple, very vanilla. And I've said before, and Josh Allen even mentioned in the post-game presser, that they might be holding some stuff back. And I think that might be a coup to Andy Reid, that for the longest time, the Chiefs did that to them. Maybe the Bills are learning their lesson. Sean McDermott is evolving. He's getting more aggressive. He's being more adaptive. And maybe this is a different Bills team.
So are we unleashing the full playbook next week, you're saying, or you still think that there's something in the back of our heads where we're just like,
I think next week's the week. I think the Bills can get past the Chiefs. I think really the Ravens, I respect the shit out of them. The Ravens are they're a wagon. That's a tough game. That's going to be a tough out.
For sure. All right, guys, listen, we have about 5 minutes left right before we hop on over to Thomas's channel. So for the remainder of the 5 minutes of this stream, please ask us questions in the chat. Start it off with a Q and a colon so we can go on ahead and then get this going. But overall, a victory 31-7. I was very confident going into this game. I figured that Josh Allen would be in a baseball cap at some point, and who knows, right? Stat padding, I'm completely fine with it. And you know what? Like, while we're waiting for these questions to pop in right now, what's your take on the overall MVP announcement, right? Because there hasn't been a person who has not received first team All Pro and has also won the MVP since 1987, John Elway. What do you think about this? Where are you leaning? So do you think that they're going to hand it over to Lamar Jackson, or was this their way of being able to show credit to both of like those QBs? It's still Josh Allen's. What are you thinking?
God, it's tough. It's tough to say because like I've seen people that literally have like, I think Mina Kimes said she was voting for Lamar. It's hard that people are going to shy away. They should. MVP is not a stat. I mean, last year tells you MVP was not a stat award.
Yeah.
Ravens fans alone told you it was a moments award. And if that's the case, Lamar Jackson should not win that award. Josh Allen has had some of the most dynamic games this year against the biggest opponents. And the only games he lost this year were against division winners, where Lamar Jackson lost to 2 3-win teams. Like, it should be, especially after today. Like, last night, Derrick Henry had more rushing yards than Lamar Jackson had passing yards. Josh Allen had almost 300 yards passing, almost 70 yards rushing. And that was significantly more than what the Bills had in rushing yards. Like, even though the Bills and, you know, Ty Johnson, James Cook, Ray Davis had a really nice game, Josh Allen still carried the ship. I think, and I know it's a regular season award, but man, it's hard for me. I'm going to be very disappointing because, man, did Josh show up this year, and he showed up in a big way.
He did. You know what? Say that Josh Allen goes out there and ultimately ends up just dicing up that Baltimore Ravens defense, and they do end up winning the game. I kind of want it. I kind of want Lamar Jackson to win the MVP. I kind of want him to, just so we can look back and just be like, yeah, look at that. It's a regular season award. Let's see how it all plays out. Look at that. All right. Deji is coming in. What's up, Deji? How you doing? And so do you think we can stop the run against the Ravens now with a fully healthy defense? Last go around, we weren't so privileged and had me curious since then. So I'll tell you what, like, number one thing that really stands out to me, that game we were missing out on Terrell Bernard. We didn't have Matt Milano out there, and we didn't have Taron Johnson. And I want to say that we had one other injury on the defense by itself.
Cam Lewis.
And Cam Lewis as well. So we were banged up to all hell. And arguably, I would say that we were missing out on our two best run defenders, obviously Bernard and then also Matt Milano, who is out there, and then Taron Johnson, who largely would have been out there covering Zay Flowers, the likes of Zay Flowers as well. So, and the funny thing is, Thomas, about Derrick Henry, you look at his stats against the Buffalo Bills, and outside of this game this year and one game while he was playing for Tennessee, for the most part, Sean McDermott's defenses have actually done a pretty good job at containing him, like 40-yard games, 50-yard games, 60-yard games. I want to say that we are going to get back to that on Sunday. I can't tell you, but as far as data suggests, we normally have an answer for him when we are fully healthy. And guess what? We are fully healthy. So what do you got on that, Thomas?
Yeah, I mean, the tough part is for that game against the Ravens early in the season, it's such an outlier of a matchup because he had that 86-yard touchdown right out of the gate, which is going to flip a script and change the entire situation.
Yeah.
And on top of that, you don't have Matt Milano, Terrell Bernard, or Taron Johnson. Like, I mean, and on top of it, you didn't have Khalil Shakir. So to expect the Bills to be a modicum of who they're supposed to be is just really not fair. And I mean, like, I know Ravens fans are like, oh, you got to play the game. Like, sure. But like, there's only a certain level of like, you can only be competitive against a stud team. Like, and the Ravens are a very good team. They're a Super Bowl contender. It's hard for the Bills to contend with a Super Bowl contender without your major pieces, 3 either all-pro or very close to all-pro players. And then probably your most consistent, best-handed, biggest contributing receiver in 2024. Like, so when I look at this game, I think to myself, can we hem in Derrick Henry? I think we can. It just comes down to you can't let him break your back. Yeah. Right? Like, that's what it comes down to. Can Josh Allen get into a shooting match with Lamar Jackson? Yes. We've seen it. He's scored 30 points every game, almost every game this season. Like, yes, he is capable of putting up points. So it just comes down to, can you – we saw them put up, you know, I looked it up. It was 41-13 or 41-16 in terms of time of possession today.
Yeah.
If you can do something like that and hem in how long they have the ball, because you saw they just destroyed the Steelers last night, I think we're good. I really do. I think they're going to be a tough matchup, but I think the Bills are their toughest matchup because I think they're literally the same style football team at this point in the season.
Yeah. No, yeah, most definitely. I get that. But folks, listen, I do want to remind everybody, this is the end of today's stream. Have no fear. I will be back tomorrow morning to unpack this game even further, but we are going right over to Thomas's channel. Okay. That is pinned at the top of this chat. And like I said, this week I'm giving away a signed Taron Johnson jersey. So if you want to be a part of this giveaway, you absolutely have to be a subscriber to my channel and then also be a subscriber to Thomas's and leave a comment on his stream. Once we are all said and done with that, I'll be selecting a winner randomly next week when we play the Baltimore Ravens signed Taron Johnson jersey. Hope everybody tunes on in and follows us over there. Go Bills, hell of a damn game, and we will see you shortly. Peace.